Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Ryan, aka Blackbeard TCG, bringing you guys another podcast. And today we have a very, very special guest in the building. We have the one, the only Brandon from TeamSeaFoodKing. How's it going?
Oh, hey Ryan, thanks for inviting me on this podcast. So, hi, I'm Brandon from Team Seafood King. So, we are actually a team of card game players in Singapore,
Mm-hmm.
and we actually play One Piece. And currently, we also do Patreon for competitive players. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And I highly recommend that anybody that is watching this video, make sure to check the link in the description to their Patreon. It's 100% worth it. I know that there were a lot of people over here in the West that have topped, thanks to your Patreon, playing like your Luffy lists and things like that that you guys have posted. I don't want to be a sellout, but I'm also a subscriber of your Patreon as well. And I can personally vouch that it is worth it. If you guys want things like deck lists, guides, gameplay videos, they are the ones to go to because, hey, they've already played OPO2. So if you want to get that next level before the game actually comes out for us, the cards actually come out for us in the next month, make sure to check out their Patreon. So I guess, Brandon, just to start off, why don't you talk to me a little bit about like how did you get into One Piece and who's your favorite One Piece character?
Okay, so how we got into the game was basically we were looking for a new card game to play,
Mm-hmm.
and One Piece just popped up. And since it was the most popular anime and all of us loved it a lot,
Yeah.
we just decided to give it a go. And Kaido is my favorite One Piece
Oh.
character because he's such a beast.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. That's awesome. So with Kaido, obviously with him being more of like a newer character in the series, did you have any characters that you liked before Kaido was introduced?
Before Kaido was introduced, I really liked Zoro
Hmm.
because of how he was as a character, like very loyal.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's so true. Like there's always that joke that it's like you have to find a partner as loyal as Zoro is to Luffy, you know?
yeah.
It's so true. It's so true. Awesome. Well, yeah, that's great. I think like with Kaido, it's like he's one of those characters where obviously he's like an absolute beast, but then also you kind of get like those funny moments because of him and like all the drinking and stuff like that, right? I feel like it's a cool like two-sided coin.
Yeah, it's all the One Piece laughters, all the
Yeah.
unique laughters.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Awesome. Well, let's jump right into it and start talking about the OPO2 meta. So obviously, you and your team are past that now. You guys have already started testing with OPO3, but for focusing on OPO2, let's talk about the big elephant in the room that I know a lot of people here in the West are worried about, and that is Zoro. So, of course, Zoro was a deck that started dominating very early and still seen play towards the end of the life cycle of OPO2. So I guess I just want your initial opinions on Zoro. What do you think of the deck? And will it still be something that people in the West will have to fear? Or is it kind of figured out a little bit now?
Okay, so Zoro generally is like any other aggro deck in any card game,
Mm-hmm.
whereby it is consistent because of its low cost curve,
Mm.
and it's also very punishing towards other decks that are slow or they draw a pretty bad hand early game. However, just like any other aggro deck, Zoro does run out of steam.
Mm. Okay.
And at the same time, if you can actually defend early, protect yourself, you can actually turn over the tempo and take over the game from there.
Yeah, makes sense, especially because I feel like the one thing that I'm personally scared about when going up against Zoro no PO2 is probably like the idea of Whitebeard being played towards the end, right? Because like you said, they kind of run out of steam. And so how do you feel people should deal with that Whitebeard once it hits the board? Like, should you already preemptively be expecting it? Like, obviously they might not have it in their hand, but should you already have in your mind like, okay, they can play this on this turn, let me start playing around it?
Honestly, I think there's no proper way to play around Whitebeard
Hmm.
when it's coming down on turn 5, unless you're playing certain decks like black, purple, law especially.
Yeah.
But if you're playing red decks in general, uh, you're trying to push as much as possible before the Whitebeard comes down. Yeah,
Right.
but to answer the Whitebeard usually as another red player is just to play another Whitebeard down.
Fair
Yeah.
enough, fair enough. And yeah, I think that of course obviously with Zoro being a more cheap option as well, I guess the only expensive card that we would have to pick up would be those Whitebeards, the 9 cost Whitebeards. Outside of that, everything else is basically commons or just from the film promos, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything else is quite cheap.
Yeah, so I think it's probably going to be one of those things where it's also going to be popular here because of that, right? Being able to be very strong but also cheap. We are also having like severe allocation issues. A lot of people don't. Some people still don't even have like starter decks in some areas. It's crazy, and so maybe some people like that. That's the type of deck they'll gravitate towards because they'll be able to pick up those cards a little bit easier. But now that I think about it, if they don't even have starter decks, they probably don't have the film promos. And that's probably mandatory, right? Like the Gordons and those things. So, yeah.
Yeah, without the Gordons, it's a little bit hard to play Zoro, especially, and you need the Sunnies in the
Right.
film deck as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, I guess people shouldn't be too worried because obviously, as the meta developed, and it seems like the meta changes every week or every 2 weeks, which is awesome because it keeps it fresh and exciting. We've seen a bunch of leaders perform, and one that I want to talk about is Ivankov. I want to get your opinion because for me, I love playing blue decks. Recently, I've kind of switched to black. More so, I've been playing a lot of Zephyr, black and purple, but I've always loved blue, and Ivankov is a deck that I was super happy to see top. But I want to know your opinion. Do you feel that do we not see as much Ivankov in OPO2 because it was a more difficult deck to play, or it just wasn't consistent enough? What do you think made people not pilot it and have it have like high numbers and representation?
Well, Ivankov in general suffers the same fate as Dofi in a sense that blue doesn't really do very well once they lose their board. And
Okay.
another thing is that Ivankov is also weak to 8 drop kit
Right.
and 8 cost Odin. So that's it for their green matchup. However, Ivankov as a deck in general also requires you to draw the right pieces at the right time, especially when you are using your leader's ability. At the end of
Right.
your turn to draw two, you don't know what you're going to draw. You can draw blanks, and the most you can draw is basically a 2k shield and a 2k shield, total of 4k shields.
Yeah.
It's very easy for your opponent to play around the knowledge because you only have 2 cards. And
Right.
another thing is that you have to play Ivankov on turn 4 to curve it out just nice with the blue Impel Down Luffy as well
Mm-hmm.
to take tempo and control the board. However, if they miss it, usually they'll be too far behind in general.
Right, right. And then it's also like, what if you don't have that Luffy? Like, sure, you could play the crocodile, but it's not gonna be as strong as if you had that Luffy on board, right?
Yeah, it's not going to be the same if you don't play anything else other than Luffy.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is that your hand at the start could be quite bricky as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
if let's say you have multiple copies of Ivankov or Luffy, you are pretty much stuck on that hand, and you might have to discard them away for you to start cycling cards.
Right, right. Especially because you
Yeah,
like you
cycling away.
mentioned.
Yeah.
Oh, so sorry to cut you off, but I was just gonna say, like you mentioned, because you want to see that Ivankov and Luffy combo so early, like to play it on curve. If you have them in your hand early on, obviously you're gonna keep that hand. But then, like you said, if you have multiple copies, then it's like, oh damn, I have to discard these cards. So it becomes really, really much of an issue. So I guess my next question for you then would be, when it comes to Ivankov, do you feel like, and like a long tournament style, do you feel like there's a lot of because it requires so much like brain power to play, and like you have to use like the Doflamingos, and like it's random in terms of what you draw and you need the right pieces, do you think it's better to just play decks that are just more consistent?
Honestly, it would depend on a player preference because for a person like me, I would much rather prefer to play a deck that has a higher ceiling but
Okay.
lesser consistency. Because
Okay.
if you're playing a deck that is extremely consistent,
Yeah.
like for example, you're gonna play Green Kinemon and you're gonna top every single event, but the chances of you winning an event is extremely low. But you
Ah,
you will top it, yeah.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Because like at the end of the day, your goal is to win, right? You want to have the
Yes.
best opportunity to win. You're not just there just to top. And so you rather play that deck that gives you that little edge to have that advantage. I like that mindset. I really like that mindset. You're not somebody that settles. You want to go for it all.
Yes.
Nice. That's
You gotta
awesome.
win everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great, right? Like, and that's the beauty of this card game, and I guess card games in general. Of course, there's going to be players that just want to collect, or players that are more casual that will just go to events. But of course, there's people like you, there's people like me that do want to perform really well, right? So I really like that you have that mentality. Awesome. So I guess now that we've talked about Ivankov, just hopping over to the OPO1 leaders a little bit, because surprise to anybody that doesn't know, they actually have performed very well in OPO2. And so at first I want to talk about Kid, and then I want to talk about Law, because these are two leaders that have seen more play towards the end of OPO2. And so if we talk about Law specifically, I know a lot of people started playing the more defensive version, really focus on 8-cost Kid. We've seen the list that was playing 2 copies of the Banished Yamato. I want to know your opinion on that. Do you think that that's something that will be consistently played? Do you think it just has like a good matchup against the field at that time, with it being like a lot of Zoro as well as Kinemon? What are your thoughts on Kid?
Kit pretty much was a right meta call at that point in time, whereby there was many Zoros and many Kinemons.
Yeah.
So because Kinemon's leader ability slowly scales off as the game goes by,
Right.
whereas Kit's ability becomes stronger and stronger. And another thing is that Green in general can't really play into the 8-cost Kit, because the 8-cost Kit by itself is just a huge iron wall.
Right.
And once it comes down, 2 blockers are probably going to come down and protect it. And they're just going to have an easy time as Green Kit into other green decks. As for the Banished Yamato, it's more of a hand control kind of playstyle that the Japanese people thought of, whereby they will just defend with their 8-cost Kit, have like a Bonnie, a Momonosuke at the side, getting a card every single turn,
Yeah.
then protecting it, using a Yamato to keep pushing face until the opponent runs out of hand. And once they run out of hand, it's very easy for them to close out the game, because you got a double attack, 2 damage, then 8-cost Kit's gonna push, your leader's gonna push, and you know
Right.
they have no hand already.
Yeah. So it's easy to just calculate the numbers and then just take it from there.
Yeah, it's a slow, very, very slow grind game.
Yeah, and it blows my mind even more that like people could take it to events where they have to play so many rounds, and like you said, it's a grind game, and just mentally taxing. But again, it comes down to players' playstyle, right? Some people prefer that, and then other people want to just keep going face. So there's decks for everybody. That's awesome. So I guess if we switch it over to Law now, of course, Law got a bunch of fancy tools in OPO2, having access to Curly Dedan, having access to Makino and other cards as well. What do you how do you view Law? Do you feel like Law again is one of those meta call type decks, or do you think that Law is still just a very good consistent deck from the get-go in OPO2?
Law is still top tier. If I had a choice, I would bring Law into any event in OPO2.
Nice. And what do you think that is? Do you just think it's because, like, obviously his leader ability is so powerful, right? Like, of course, just being able to cheat out those 5 costs. Do you think it's just because, like, his leader itself is just really strong? Or do you feel like these new cards, in addition to what he already has, kind of puts him over the top?
It's pretty much just the Dadan that pushes the deck over the edge with its extra consistency, because you're playing a lot of 1-drops in Law.
Right.
So Dadan helps you fill out the curve really well. Especially, and Law is actually it's one of the most broken leaders in the game, honestly speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to dominate the board, you're just going to control, and your opponent can't do anything about it.
Right. It's so true, bro. It's so true, because I just think about it and I'm just like, I remember, again, when I first read the card, I was just like, wait, what? You're telling me that I can just bring out a 5 cost for the cost of 2 Dawn? Like, this is absolutely absurd. And so, yeah, I guess that definitely makes sense. And I know that we see some decks, like, for example, like with Whitebeard, having their Sea Quakes and things like that to try to combat it. But I don't know. It feels like when you play against Law, they just always have more cards in hand to just fill out their board again and then just start the room shambles shenanigans again,
Yeah, the deck has too much card advantage from Bonnie, from Nami. Yeah, it's getting too much card advantage, and they're just going to keep farming. Even if you're going to see quick 1 card, you're trading 1 card for Law's one card,
Right.
which isn't as worth because for Whitebeard you have that amount of cards you will see throughout the course of the game,
Right.
and each time you are using a card like See Quick to destroy something and not gain value off it, it feels very bad.
Yeah, fair enough. I think I would have to completely agree with you on that in terms of what my testing has shown me. And yeah, I mean, I guess I'm really excited that at least, like, you know, the people that might not be able to get their hands on like all of the cards for OPO2, they could still play some of their OPO1 leaders, get a couple singles, and still be able to perform, right? So I guess that's always good for the health of a card game. Awesome.
Yep.
So I guess the next thing I want to talk about, Brandon, is your main man, your favorite character, Kaido. Now, for me, Kaido, like, I think a lot of people are sleeping on him in OPO2. I know a lot of people haven't played him. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Feel free to let me know if I completely missed the mark. But I don't know. I feel like Kaido, I don't know if it's because of like matchups and whatnot, but whenever I play him, he just feels like it. I feel like the need of Onigashima, of course, if you see it, it's absolutely amazing. But with the tools that we got in terms of the purple Impel Down cards, I feel like it's not as much of a necessity to have in order to win. So I wanted to know your thoughts on that. Do you think that what I'm saying is true? Do you think that it's still like you really need Onigashima? Or do you think Kaido now is like a deck that people should keep fearing even without it?
What you say is true, in a sense that you don't really rely on Onigashima as much. However, you still need it. And I guess people in the West, they prefer a lot of consistency, and they don't really like the fact that Kaido is like, oh, I need my Onigashima, or I need my Kings or Kaidos, or their hand just becomes like full of no counter value cards.
Right, yes.
However, Kaido by itself is still extremely strong. As you can see from the Asia results, people still like Kaido, and people still bring it because the deck power is still extremely strong.
Right.
Like King on turn 3 stops a lot of decks.
Oh, sorry, say that again?
A King on turn 3 stops a lot of decks.
Yes.
And then on turn 4, Kaido, you're gonna win everything, no matter what.
That's so true. And what's your opinion on I believe it's Hell's Judgment, the new event card? I feel like that card, whenever I play it, I get so much value. What's your opinion on it?
Hell's Judgment is an extremely good card. You're essentially paying two Dawn just to block 2 separate attacks. And if you're using it on something like a Green Kid Leader or the Odin, the Age of Odin, you're gonna get extra value off it. Another thing is that sometimes, usually when you're playing One Piece card games, you can play around certain cards.
Yes.
But at certain board states, you can't play around Hell's Judgment. That's why it's extremely strong.
Right. That is true. That is true. And I really like the point that you talked about how much value you can get off it because of the 8-cost Kid Leader or the Odin, because again, they're going to ideally want to swing twice, right? They want to attack twice, use their ability. So if you can make them either stop their attack completely with the Hell's Judgment or make them have to spend even more Dawn, you're getting insane value off that. Yeah, I think it's a really, really good card. And then of course, like being able to have it be searchable as well. Thanks because it is Impel Down. I feel like it just gives Kaido so many more options. I know for me, if I'm not able to like pick up all the product that I want for the deck that I want to play, which is Zephyr, like I know I'll probably just end up playing Kaido because I only need a couple new cards, right? Probably just like the Hell's Judgment. I do think that Shiryu the Rain is pretty good. I want to know your opinion on that. I feel like he could be pretty good just because of like the laws and the Zoros. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, Shiryu is an extremely good card into a lot of Zoros, into the law. Especially in the green, you can pop their small drops. Their
true.
Their Beige,
yes.
Their Momonosuke's. Yep.
That's true. That's true.
It's quite good.
And at worst, even if you're not getting that much value from it, obviously depending on matchups and things like that, he's still a 5K body, right? Which is really nice to have. Because I think outside of that, there isn't that many that you would play in Kaido. Everything else is kind of big, right? Whether it's Babanuki, the Kings, and all the Kaidos, right? So I guess that's a nice card to just have to play like early game.
Yep, and it has 1,000 counter value, so that's the best part. You can start with it.
That's true. The rare counter auto character card. That's so true. Being able to have that. Hey, you never know that you could be in a situation where that could be that one counter that you need to win. In order to live to get to your next turn, right? So
Yep, definitely. You need all the shields you can get.
Awesome. So now let's talk about the new color in OPO2, which is black. So I know some people were really excited at first with Sakazuki, with Akainu, but then once people started playing it and like the testing and having to discard a card and all the dawn and all that stuff, people kind of were like, oh, it's not that good. But then a lot of people started to pick up Smoker. Now, for me, I feel like Smoker is interesting because in terms of the matchup with Whitebeard, obviously if they don't see Moby Dick, then like in my opinion, I feel like Smoker can have a lot of fun in that sense. But I feel like the fact that he can kind of get plus 1,000 dawn, plus 1,000 power for free makes him really good. So what are your thoughts on Smoker overall? Do you feel like he was more underrepresented and like he's actually like a really good deck and just not a lot of people played him? Or do you feel like he's one of those decks that, again, you kind of need to see the right cards at the right time, like the Kuzans and the Borsalinos and things like that?
Smoker is actually an extremely good deck, but it's extremely underrepresented because of how it functions, how it runs. Because sometimes you gotta see like you said, you gotta see your Kuzan, you gotta see your Boslaninos, you gotta see your Akainus.
Yes.
However, because of the meta being like a lot of one drop focus, your smokers actually gain a lot of value from it. Just one dawn, and you're always having a 7k beta.
Right. That's so true,
Yep.
right?
Not to mention your 5-drop smoker from the trial deck, the starter deck. Yeah. With that, you can actually race against red decks because of it's a double attack.
Right, and then the fact that it can't be KO'd by card effects is also huge. So I guess I want to know your opinion, because if I'm being completely honest, there's some moments where I feel like I don't know when I want to play the 5-cost smoker or like really take advantage of the double attack. What type of board states or like situations do you feel is ideal to go for? Obviously, of course, you know, you want to hope they don't have blockers and things like that. But I guess in my mind, it's like, okay, like the fact that obviously I need to have like a Dawn attached onto it. Like if I don't have like a Kuzan in order to like -4, I feel like it's kind of tough because you need to have a cost of 0 on board, right?
Yep. Okay. So basically, essentially, the matchups where the 5-cost smokers are good is basically against red because of the double attack.
Right.
Into the other matchups, it's not really more of the double attack. It's more of the body and the fact that it can't be destroyed by card effects.
I see. I understand. So now it's more so just the way you use it is more so based on the deck that you're facing.
Yep.
Perfect. Makes sense. Yeah, I'm excited. Especially because, like, of course, getting a new color is super exciting. I know for you guys, obviously, you guys have yellow now, and you guys are doing a lot of testing with that, and I'm sure you guys are going to be cooking up some stuff with yellow, and I'm really excited to see what you guys come up with. But now, if we talked about Kinemon a little bit when we were talking about green and kid and stuff like that. Kinemon, oh my gosh. I mean, you'll be able to speak more about it because obviously you lived through it. But I remember when I read this card, I was like, oh my gosh, this seems so good. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that this deck was probably the most represented over the lifetime, maybe rivaled with Zoro. But a lot of people play Kinemon. I want to know your opinion. I feel like I kind of already know your answer because of what you told me before. But did you think a lot of people just picked it because of its consistency? And like you said, it's like you could play Kinemon and odds are you're probably going to top just because of strength of the deck. What are your thoughts on Kinemon overall?
Kinemon is extremely consistent. However, the ceiling of the deck is quite low because you can't really high roll to high extremes. The most things that you can do are things that people can expect. Like, oh, you go second, turn 1, Okiku, turn 2, Okiku or Yamato, turn 3, Law, Okiku, Yamato, and turn 4, just their Odin down. However, the good thing about Kinemon is that because of its leader's skill, it helps you to curve out a lot easier. So when you're going first or going second, you don't really feel yourself actually at a huge disadvantage.
Right.
Because of how the deck is. Yeah, because if you go second, you can slam your Odin on 8 on turn 4 and 8 dawn. But if you go first, you can still slam your Odin down for 7 dawn at turn 4.
Right. That's actually such an underrated thing that I never thought about, Brandon. That's so true because, like, obviously, like, some decks prefer to go first or second just because of the nature of the curve of the cards that they play. But I never really thought that just because of the ability to play Odin turn 4 no matter what, if you have it, just because of leader ability, that's so huge, right? Because sometimes, we've all been there. Sometimes you just lose the dice roll and it feels like you lost the game because of that, right? So being able to have the flexibility of it doesn't matter if you go first or second, that in itself is very strong, especially in a tournament event, right?
Yep, because you're going to be rolling a lot of dices. Going first, going second doesn't really matter as much. However, I mean, for some matchups it does matter, like into black, because black wants to go second.
Yes.
And red wants to go first. Yeah. So it's still okay overall in the event as long as you get your cards. Oh yeah, you have cards like Momonosuke and Bonnie still.
Right.
Such every single card you want. Yeah.
So I guess this will be a little bit more of like a tech question. And I guess with Odin, when it comes to him getting KO'd, right? Obviously, you're able to bring out a cost 3 Wano card. Obviously, I guess it depends on board state and things like that. Whether you want to maybe you want to bring out an Izo just to rest something, or a Raizo so you can continue to draw cards, or Okiku. What do you feel is the standard play that people bring out when Odin dies? Or again, does it just come down to the board state?
Usually it would be Okiku. However, if you need to, if you're playing against a deck that is going wide and you need value, you can get down a Raizo. Like against red, you just get down a Raizo and start farming their small stuff. Right. And sometimes you play down the Izo when you really need to rest an attacker. Yeah. So it really depends on the situation.
Fair enough. So that kind of touches all of the leaders in OPO2. I guess we could talk a little bit briefly on Whitebeard. Obviously, a lot of people have been playing the Moby Dick version, but then a lot of people started straying more so to the Straw Hat version. What's your opinion on which version you like more? Do you feel like it's kind of the same? What are your thoughts on Whitebeard overall?
Overall, I would say Whitebeard is actually very strong. However, it's only strong towards the end of the OPO2 meta for us, because that's when everyone started playing the Straw Hat version instead. Because the Moby Dick version in OPO2 isn't as strong because you don't have stage.
Yes.
You have cards to really search it out.
Right.
And another weakness of Whitebeard in OPO2 is that your characters, you rely on your characters to do your damage because you need to gain value of your Moby Dick.
Yes.
If they just bomb your characters every single turn that you play it down, then you can't really do much. And with that, the Moby Dick version went down in popularity.
Right.
Because it's also not good into Punk Gibson.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
Punk Gibson,
very good point.
Your macro. Yeah. So it became more of the Straw Hat build, because the Straw Hat build has access to Nami, which basically searches every single card.
Right.
In that build. Yeah.
And so does that, obviously that build, because it doesn't rely on Moby Dick as much and it being a red deck, do you feel again, that's a deck that can play a lot more aggressively and just try to be super aggro, and then of course have your 9-drop Whitebeard, be able to play that, I believe on turn 4, I guess? No, turn 5 would be the earliest you could play that, yeah, because it's 9 costs. Do you feel like that's kind of the go-to play style with it? Because of course it's a little bit different compared to Moby Dick, where you kind of want to take the hits and then just sit at 1 life and then go to 0 and just sit there.
So for this, it really depends if in the Straw Hat build you are running the 9 cost, because some people don't run a 9 cost.
Oh really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you're running a 9 cost, then you need to be conscious about your life totals, because you want to gain value of your 9-drop.
Yes.
However, if you're playing the non-9 cost version, you can just take every damage that's coming your way.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah, it's something I definitely want to play around with. I've been a huge player of the Moby Dick version, but it's like you said, right? If you don't see the stage in OPO2, it's rough. I've had those games where I'm just oh my gosh, I feel like if I had this one stage, I could easily win, but because I don't have it, I can't, right? Just because I don't have the extra 2,000 power. Of course, obviously OPO2 that changes with being able to actually search it. But yeah, that's awesome. So I think that basically touches on most of the decks that we think will kind of dominate the format in the West. I guess if I had to ask you now, obviously you playing through it, kind of hindsight, what would you say would be like some of the top decks for OPO2? And of course, you can include some OPO1 leaders in that as well.
Okay, first off, it'll be Law. So that's number one.
Nice, nice.
Then we would have the three red decks in Whitebeard, Zoro, Luffy. Yeah,
Nice.
Luffy is still extremely good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Luffy is still extremely good in OPO2.
Okay, okay. That's
We
interesting.
have a player on our team, Noel.
Mm-hmm.
So he basically top with Luffy in OPO2 in like almost every single event he went to.
Wow.
So he got like five Zoros if I'm not wrong.
Okay, wow, that's amazing. Now, obviously, he's an extremely skilled player. Because I was just gonna say, do you think that's just a skill gap? Do you think like he's just like really, really good? Because I haven't seen too many people playing Luffy. Like, what tools did he really get in OPO2 to make him really compete?
For Luffy,
Yeah, yeah,
Luffy got the same thing as Zoro. I mean, they got
like the
Dada, they got
Makino and
Whitebeard.
right,
Yeah, they got Makino. That's enough for Luffy because Luffy still can play an efficient a down efficient game
right,
compared to Zoro.
right,
Because
right.
Luffy can still play without a full board.
Mhm.
They can still play with like a rush Luffy, rush Zoro, this kind of stuff.
Right,
Another thing is that the Whitebeard, they can Whitebeard on turn 5,
right.
and on turn 6, if they play a Whitebeard again, they still can attach the extra Dawn onto their Whitebeard and use
Right.
their Luffy's ability, yeah, and pop something.
That's true. That's true. And literally no other leader can do that. Only Luffy has access to that combo. That is true.
Yep, especially when you're slamming on turn 5, even if you're going first,
Yeah.
you can still put one additional Dawn and Luffy can swing for 8,000 on their leader.
Right. Damn, that's really good. That is really good. Wow. I guess who knows? Maybe we'll see more Luffy's then. So that's awesome. So like you said, Law, the red deck, Zoro, Luffy, Whitebeard. So I guess so far everything is red, even with Law, because Law's red green. So red just looking really strong. Do you think like obviously Ivankov we talked about a little bit too inconsistent? Do you think that maybe Smoker is up there, or again like Kaido, or do you think like those 4 decks that you just mentioned are kind of the ones that might run the table?
Those 4 decks, especially with Kinemon, will most likely run the table because based on how the Western style is, most people prefer aggro deck.
Yes.
Not many people really like the control style games or the mid-range style games. They just prefer to just aggro.
Yeah, that's
So
very
it's
true.
like a lot of
That's so true. That's so true. Well, honestly, I'm extremely excited for the cards to come out here. But more importantly, I'm extremely excited because I know that you and your team are going to be cooking up some amazing deck lists for us in the West. And again, I want everybody that is watching this video, please go into the description, check out the Patreon. I 100% guarantee you guys it is worth it. The deck lists, it's the explanations. I think you guys go super in depth, right? Talk about matchups. You guys talk about why you're playing each card. Kind of sell the viewers on your Patreon and why they should subscribe to you.
Okay, because we actually put a lot of time and effort outside of our busy schedule just to put content for you guys. We also want you guys improve and help people that want to get better at the game. So we're trying to be as deep as possible, especially because you guys are paying your own money. So we are doing our best. Hopefully it's the best articles you can actually see for competitive One Piece stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Hopefully you guys can, with the articles, you guys can do well and hopefully win Zoro, Chopper,
Yeah.
or Usopp.
Exactly. I was so disappointed I wasn't able to go to my treasure cup, but if I was able to go, I definitely your the law list that you guys had and the explanations that you guys gave was absolutely amazing. So again, guys, 100%, if you guys are looking to dominate in OPO2, you have to check out their Patreon, get that information. Again, these are coming from guys that have performed, have topped at events, and have won events. So there's no better place to go. I guarantee you guys that. Outside of that, Brandon, do you have any shout outs, anything else you want to talk about?
I want to shout out to Team Seafood King. for everyone being awesome, doing all the hard work, winning events, being a good play test group.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to shout out to Han Yong because he went to play Worlds today,
Yes,
earlier
yes.
in the
I seen him
morning.
on stream twice, right?
Yep. Yep, he was on stream. Sadly, he bubbled out and ended up on 10th place.
Mm.
However, he was like the highest placing ace player
Yeah,
at that event. Yeah.
that's awesome.
So yeah, at the event, we felt that Ace was extremely good into Whitebeard, extremely good into the Rock Blue Cheese. Yeah, we felt that he was quite well prepared. But
Yeah.
you can't win everything all the time, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And you know what? It's gonna make him even hungrier, right? To want to win the next time, which is awesome, right? So that's great. That's great. And any other shoutouts?
Uh, Shout outs to all the people on our Patreon at
Nice.
TeamSeaFoodKing for subscribing to us. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. Yeah,
Awesome.
hopefully we can keep producing good content for you guys.
Yeah, I have no doubt. I absolutely have no doubt at all. And so, with that being said, guys, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. I hope you guys are super excited for OPO2. I'm really curious what you guys are going to be playing, so let me know in the comment section below if, you know, any of Brandon's comments changed your mind, changed your opinion on what you want to play. Let us know in the comment section below. Once again, check out their Twitter, check out their Patreon in the description. And with that being said, we're out. Peace.
Okay, peace.